So today's webinar is about how to pitch an idea. Over the last months, I have been listening to a lot of ideas. And yes, there are ways in which you can convey the idea in a way that the person who is listening to you understands it better, in a way that you cover the key elements that matter when launching a business. And this is what we are going to talk about today. Just as a summary, we started this series of 5 webinars 2 weeks ago. The first one was about the co-founding model to create startups, how to do startups in a lean way. The second one was about how to get traction with customers. This is very important because actually the traction has to start even before you have an MVP. And today we're going to talk about how to pitch an idea. Next Wednesday, we are going to do a pitching workshop with all of you who want to participate. And then after that, 1 week later, is going to be the demo days, which are going to be November 10, November 11, and November 12. So this is the whole process. And after that, after the demo days, well, we'll have an idea about what companies have been shortlisted. Well, why don't we start today? So we are going to have a few presentations, a few slides from Luke Thomas about how to pitch an idea. After that, we are going to do some practice. So if you want, what you can do is in the chat, you can send us a short paragraph about your idea. If you send us a short paragraph, we will read it, and we will try to give you an idea or some feedback about how the pitch is. So you can write that while you are listening to the presentation. And again, like always, you can always ask any question on the Q&A section. Okay, very good. So we start. Luke, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Pedro. How are you?
Excellent.
Good,
very
good. Okay, shall I crack on?
Yeah, we can start.
Great. Okay, so yeah, thanks to everyone for joining. This is obviously a critical part of the whole process. I think everyone here believes they have a good idea, and they want the opportunity to prove it. But by failing to pitch your idea correctly, you don't even get that opportunity. So this is all about how can you communicate as effectively as possible to get that opportunity. You know, I worry that of all the companies that apply to Nova, many of them are very good. They're just not able to communicate effectively with us about what that opportunity is. And it's really difficult, you know, to bring all those ideas in your head together into one point in time, into one small pitch that's effective. It can take a lot of practice and a lot of time. So I'm going to give you some overall tips of how to make the most out of your opportunity to pitch Nova and our other partners. I'll give you some tips on structure and some do's and do nots. And then please, any questions, because it's such a broad topic, any specific questions, put them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. I think in every webinar so far, we've answered pretty much every question. So, you know, feel free to ask away. So simply, how to pitch your idea. A bit of context. Why are we running this pitch event or this demo day, as we call it? Some of you may not know, but we've had over 150 founders in Southeast Asia be interested in this program, which obviously gives us a very difficult challenge of working out which of the 150 are the best fit for us, have the best opportunity, and we can take forward and work with. So the pitch event will be the main point where our team views all of the work that you guys have done and helps decide which ones we want to take forward into deeper discussions with. And really, for you guys, what is the goal? It's not to explain every single point of the business. It's not to explain every single up and down. It's to build a foundation of interest, give us enough information that we can understand it, that we're excited about it, and we want to talk to you more. And to do that is to be concise. It's to pick the right high-level topics and leave enough for your follow-up meeting in terms of detail. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's what you guys are trying to do. In terms of the pitch rules, it will be a strict 5-minute time limit. If you go over 5 minutes, we'll have to stop you because, you know, it's not fair to the other founders who are sticking to that time. We also think that even if I gave you 50 minutes, even if I gave you an hour, 2 hours, the attention span of any one person when trying to understand an idea is not that long. So I advise everyone to have at least, at max a 5-minute pitch that you can bring out at any time. It also forces you to be very concise and very specific. This tells us that you've really thought about the idea. You know exactly what the important points are, and it's actually a lot harder to speak concisely and directly than it is to just go on and talk a lot. So there'll be strict 5 minutes. So make sure you've practiced in advance and you're under that 5-minute time, to make sure that you don't get cut halfway through and you miss giving that key piece of information. There'll also be a limited amount of time for Q&A. Again, we need to keep things moving. So make sure you've hit the key points in your business with enough, but there'll be chance for people to ask a few questions. So this is what I mean. You don't need to say everything. You can give high-level points that you want people to follow up on, and then you can give a bit more information in that Q&A. And ultimately, what we'll do is we'll watch all the pitches on the demo day. We'll help. We'll score those pitches. And then we'll prioritize those businesses and we'll follow up with you the week following the demo day. So you won't get any offers of investment right there and then after a 5-minute pitch. It's about giving us a flavor so that we can engage with you further and see the best way we can work together. So that'll be the rules. We'll have a panel of judges that are going to be there to get to listen and to score and to give feedback and to help us prioritize. And to keep it simple, they've got 3 jobs or 3 questions they need to answer. And if all 3 questions are a yes, there is no reason that we won't follow up with you. And it's so number 1, do I understand the idea? Do I get it? Do I know what they're talking about? Number 2, am I excited by the idea? What are the pros and cons? What are the opportunities within the idea? What has the founder done to date that makes this an exciting opportunity? And finally, do I think the founders are the right people to execute that idea? When I hear pitches that are confusing, it's because people are trying to merge all of this into one thing. That they're trying to get me to understand it and be excited by it and to convince me that they're the right people. I actually think when you've got 5 minutes, it's worth breaking it down into those component parts and making sure that you've built the right message as you develop. So do I understand the idea? Spend a minute making sure that you are articulating it very clearly what it is. Don't try to sell it, just what it is. Then you can go into detail about the good bits and the bad bits that you've got. And then finally explain why you or your team are the right people to execute this based on your background, etc. So we're going to go through each of these 3 points in detail on the best tips for how to make sure that you've structured your pitch this way. And if you think about the responsibilities of the founder against those, if the panel needs to understand those things, then you need to give a clear description, you need to give good insights, and you need to show your founder market fit to the panel. And that, if you can do those things, then you're onto a winner. So the most simple bit that founders often get wrong is, do I understand the idea? Like, do I, as an investor, do I get what you're saying? Not whether I believe it, not whether I want to invest in it, but do I simply understand it? And so many founders don't get this bit right. They overcomplicate or they oversell. So be clear with what it is you're going to do. You don't have to go into massive detail, but
okay, sorry, Luke. It seems that your audio might have some noise. Maybe something is not well connected. There is some kind of noise. Not too bad, but a little bit of noise.
Is that better?
I think that
Hello?
is, yeah, I think that is better. Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so point 1, do I understand the idea? And this is where you have to be really clear.
No, it is back. I think it's a bad connection.
Okay, one sec. Shall I drop out and jump back in?
Try again.
I think it's just the microphone is too close to your mouth, so it's picking up the breathing noises. That should sort it.
Is that better?
Now it's good.
Yeah, we're good?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, finally. Do I understand the idea? This is a bad pitch, by the way, guys. So don't do what I'm doing now. Make sure that your mic is set up properly and your audio is fine. So one thing that founders get confused on is they instantly try and sell the idea. As someone looking to fund ideas, we are already looking to be excited by them. You don't need to oversell us. You just need to tell us clearly what you're trying to do, and then we'll get excited about it. So, and we can't get excited before we understand it. So make sure that you're clear. You're not selling your idea. You're just explaining it. This is what we're going to do. You don't have to use lots of language to try and convince me that it's a great opportunity. That all comes later. This is just about being clear with what you're doing. And the second big issue with trying to sell is you try to appeal to a very broad market. You try to show the huge potential of your company. But as we've discussed in multiple webinars previously, we want to know very specifically who your initial customers are. And by being overly specific, by being overly vague, it's very difficult for us to understand how you'll achieve that potential. So it's better to be really specific and potentially sound a bit smaller than you could be than it is to come across as impressive but vague, which is what a lot of pitches end up sounding like. And I'll give you a couple examples now. So this is the kind of stuff that we get all the time. Big statements. We are going to transform the relationship between individuals and information. It does sound impressive. Big words. We're going to transform, individuals and information. It sounds great. But this is a no-go. This gives you no information as an investor or a partner of what you're going to do. I'm no closer to being able to reproduce your idea or able to visualize it. This is what I mean by overly vague, trying to make it sound bigger than it is, but actually has very little detail. And if you start with something like this, then the panel are they're trying to figure out what you mean as you're now explaining it. So try to stay away from big, vague statements. It's better to be more specific. Here's another example of the type of stuff we get. I don't really want to read this, but information is the lifeblood of the modern organization. The ability to channel information quickly and efficiently to those who need it is critical to a company's success. Blah, 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 blah. So this is someone who, right from the beginning, is quite defensive about their position. They're trying to explain to me how important information is within the modern organization, how if we had a better system for information, we would beat our competitors and we would be brand leading. I'm still no closer to understanding what it is this company's going to do. It sounds kind of good, but you've wasted a minute explaining why information is important rather than explaining what your company's going to do with information in order to help your customers gain that advantage. This is a trap when we speak about problems. We want to talk about what the problem is, but we don't want to spend the whole minute giving a big story about the problem. We still want it to be within context of what the company's going to do. So try not to do long intros without introducing the product properly either. These are the two issues I see with founders all the time who are trying to sell before they're trying to explain. This can all come later if it's a critical part of your pitch. That's a big no as well. Let's give you a good example of what a first minute or a good intro to a project would look like. Airbnb is the first online marketplace that lets travelers book rooms with locals instead of hotels. Great. I understand what it is. It's an online marketplace. The customer is the traveler, and it lets you book a room with a local instead of a hotel. They're not explaining why it's better to do that. They're not explaining why the hotel market is worth billions and it's totally broken and we're the heroes and we're going to fix it. It's very simple. I understand what you're doing. So now I can tick that box. Okay, it's a marketplace that helps people do that. From there, I can then start to get excited about the idea. I can start to ask about the market. I can ask about, why is this needed? I can ask, why has no one else done it if you're the first online marketplace? So in my head, I'm already getting excited about the different components of the idea. I couldn't do that with either of the last two slides, yet This is 1 in 10. 1 in 10 founders send us something like this. The other 9 send us vague or long or meandering descriptions even before getting into it. So once you've given your overall description, you still want to include the problem. Like, why is this important? And I think it's those 2 components that make up, do I understand the idea? Here's what I'm going to do. Big green smiley face. And then reinforce with the problem. So why would travelers rather stay with locals than hotels? Because price is an important concern and we can deliver a cheaper service. Because hotels leave you disconnected from the city and its culture, and we can give you a more immersive experience. And there is no easy way to book a room with a local. You'd have to phone them, find the availability, or look on a myriad of different websites. So within 2 very simple slides, I understand what Airbnb are doing, and I understand why they're doing it. Again, they haven't sold anything yet. They're not talking about their traction, their plans, their ambition. It's simply, I can understand the idea, and that would get a tick. So I hope that's a good example of what we're looking for. Don't try to be overly salesy. Don't try to be like Steve Jobs and come out with huge statements. You're just going to confuse everyone. You want there to be no ambiguity. It's very clear that all the panel members would understand the same points from these pitch decks and from these examples, and that's what you want to end up being in. You know, every judge thinks they understand it the same way because they couldn't construe it to be anything else. Whereas with the previous examples, a product that transforms the relationship between information and individuals, that could be anything. You know, it could be, is it a marketplace for reports? Is it a consultancy firm? It's too difficult to then get excited about because I don't yet know it. So I would recommend making sure that your first 1 minute of your 5-minute pitch, you just nail what it is you're doing. Just be really clear with what the company is going to do, who's it going to help, what problems it going to solve, and that's it. And then you can move on to the exciting bits. So yeah, be direct. It shouldn't take longer than a minute. Be really specific. Don't worry about, we can ask about the potential later, but just be really specific in the beginning. Obviously, as an early stage investor, we want to know how you're going to get to your first 100, 1,000, 10,000 customers, not to the millions and millions of customers later. And then the great bit about this part of the pitch is you don't need professionals to give you advice. You can pitch your friends, your family, anyone, and then ask one simple question: did you understand what I just said? If the answer keeps coming back as yes, then actually that's a really solid basis for what you're going to start building your pitch on. And the best piece of advice I can give you before the pitch day is to take your 1 minute and just keep pitching as many people as you can and make sure that they understand it, so that you're confident that whether or not the idea gets taken forward, they at least understand it. And that's the most important thing. Hopefully you get a tick in this section. We all understand your idea. You've been really specific, and we can all get our heads around it. The next question for us, am I excited by the idea? Does the panel, do Nova and do our investors or any investors get excited by the opportunities and the risks? So what makes a deal exciting? And the simple answer is growth. And there are many different factors that will help you grow or will help evidence your future growth, but they all come back to growth, really. Why do you think your company is going to grow faster than your competitors? And that's ultimately the question. The things that we look for that will hopefully, the things we look for are indicators of future growth at the early stage. So insights are the key thing. What insight do you have? What learning have you gathered from speaking to customers? What non-obvious thing about the market do you know that other people don't that will really help grow your company? What trends are taking place within the market right now that will help your company, become a big company? These trends can be societal. Are people thinking about things in a different way in 2020 and now new solutions need to be developed? It can be a technological trend. Is there new technology arriving that has become cheaper or become more accessible and now needs to be deployed into a new market? We see this all the time with, currently it was like virtual reality a few years ago, blockchain, AR and augmented reality? Is there some, or have materials become much cheaper so that now a new product can be developed? There's almost always a key trend behind every successful company, some wave that they're riding that really helps them grow. It can be a legal trend. Are governments introducing regulation that will result in opportunity for you? But being able to name these trends and point to them says that it's not just your insight, it's your insight plus this market movement means that some company will take advantage of this and be big. So why not our company? The second really exciting thing for us is early stage traction. And that's why we did the webinar last week with Paul. It's why all of our content is set around talking to customers. Ultimately, if all things are equal and all pitches are good, we'll probably go for the one with the most early stage traction. We think that that early stage traction is a good indicator of later stage traction, because if you can get people signed up at the very early stage, pre-product usually, on the basis of your pitch and your insight, then once we supplement you with a product and give you a team, there's no reason that you can't keep growing. So, and we're going to try and look at the quality and the quantity of the traction. So, you know, for instance, if you've got 10 letters of intent from businesses, that's great. If you had 10 paying customers, obviously the quality of that engagement is higher. So that would be a better panel for us. There's no golden rule, but alongside practicing your pitch, getting as much traction as you can in the next 2 weeks is what will differentiate you from other good pitches. And it's the same kind of insight as before. What are you learning that will get us more customers for cheaper than expected later? And what channels are you investigating, or what methods have you delivered to get those customers? And that's brilliant learning for later and something that we really look for. Yeah, clear market, like we've kind of just mentioned, but it's being laser focused on one underserved customer segment, and ideally it's a growing customer segment. A good example I'll give you is someone once pitched me a business to book restaurant tables on your smartphones, and they said their market was the 3.2 billion people with smartphones. That's not a clear market. There's no understanding of which customers we'd go for first, which ones would be less likely to adopt our technology, and it's almost a lie. That's not their market. That's a huge potential big number that isn't really related to the customers they're talking about today. So being able to describe our market are restaurants that have less than 10 locations because they're trying to grow. They have, they make less than £100,000 a year. That's why they're going to be open to our technology. And they're all based in Europe. At least then I get a really clear idea of where you're going. And the traction and the insight should all be linked to this market. So it's all clear why you've picked the market, you validated it with your traction, and what insights you've derived from doing that. That's the best thing an early stage company can show, even better than product. So, and then finally, what unfair advantages have you guys got? Imagine that you're 1 in 10. There's 10 companies trying to solve the same problem as you. Why should anyone pick you out of the other 9? And this can be the founder, it can be knowledge, it can be network, it can be IP, it can be access to the market. But you need to show something. If I say to you, I want to start a business shipping fabrics, I know nothing about shipping. I know nothing about fabrics. I have no unfair advantages. If someone else wanted to solve the same problem and they'd come from that industry and they had a great network and they could easily test their product, they have a clear unfair advantage against me. Our view is we want to try and find the unfair advantages in the early stage so that once we are competing with those other startups that will definitely exist, we have the advantage. So these are the things that once you've explained what the idea is, this is what will get us excited. What's your insight? How much traction have you got? How clear is the market you have in mind? And can you show us that it's growing? And what advantages do you possess or the company possesses that will help us grow faster than the competitors? Now, you might want to talk about some other things here, like the potential for a high margin business model. these things, each of your startups are quite different. So pick the right things that you think sound exciting. If you think you've got a great business model, if you think you've got great channels to market, look at your lean canvas. If you think you can deliver this whole proposition for much cheaper than normal, then put that in. But I'd suggest that every single one of you should hit these 4 points at least, and then add on other points that are specific to your startup. So a quick brain exercise. What made Uber an exciting deal back when it was founded? Booking a taxi via an app doesn't really sound like a groundbreaking idea in many ways. People had been booking taxis through phone for so long, and before 2008, people they launched a business where you could book a taxi from your desktop. That wasn't very successful because it didn't fulfill a customer need. When you need to book a taxi, you're very rarely near a computer. So the mobile was better. So why did we have to wait until 2008 to get Uber? And why did, after 2008 and between 2010, did we see lots of ride-hailing apps all start? We saw Ola and many different continents had their own version of Uber that was getting launched. And it's because of the insight. They were one of the first people to spot the change. And actually, this was a technological change. So before 2008, the smartphone apps were not powerful enough to include all of the functionality that Uber wanted. And the 4G internet was not ubiquitous enough. There wasn't enough of it and enough consistent coverage so that drivers and customers were always connected to the internet. In 2008, especially in California, in Silicon Valley, these conditions were met. 4G was introduced and better mobile apps were brought to the market. The race was on. A few companies noticed this. They started their companies and they knew that if they didn't move quickly enough, everyone else would take advantage of this technology. Now, if someone pitched us a ride-hailing app today that did the same things as Uber, it obviously wouldn't be very exciting because there's no insight, there's no trend, and there's no key changing factor in the world that we can take advantage of. So at 2008, Uber was a great idea. Before it, it wouldn't have worked. And after it, it was too late. So think about how that relates to your project. What's changed in the world that makes now the right time? And how come in 2 years will it be too late? Because if it won't be too late in 2 years, then there's no urgent need for the company, right? It's an early insight as to somewhere we'll be later on, and that's not investable either. So a good way to try and understand what makes your deal exciting is to say, this is how the world's changed. These are the trends we're going to take advantage of. These are the customers we've got. And actually, if we don't move today, this is what's going to happen. Someone else is going to do this, and this is how we know it. That injects the urgency into your pitch to make people act today, rather than to say the easiest thing in the world, which is come back later when you've proven more. So I think have a think about the story you're telling when you pitch. If you think no one has done your idea because no one has thought of it, we don't believe that. We think real problems attract people to solve them, and even if an idea hasn't happened, it's definitely been tried before, or it's definitely been thought of before. The thing that stops it is normally something more like this, like there wasn't the technology, or there wasn't the push for regulation, or something like that. So try and think about the wider context of how your idea fits into that world. So yeah, ask yourself, why did this not happen 2 years ago? And by doing this, you'll show a very deep understanding of the market. And it shows that it's not just you fighting against the tide. You're going with the wave, and you know how to leverage the market to your advantage. So yeah, it's the chance to talk about the factors that make your idea strong. Make sure you articulate the growth clearly, the trends, the traction you have, and any other advantages that you may be able to bring to the table. And finally, so let's assume that you've explained the idea correctly and we're excited about the idea. The last question we need to ask ourselves is, do we think the founders are the right people to execute the idea? And this is your chance to show why you're the 1 in 10 people who could do this. What do we look for in founders, and what are the things you should try to get across in your pitch? Domain expertise, we've been through already. Show us that you know the market better than anyone and that you know what the customers need. Do this by showing your job history, your connection to the market, your passion for it, and the work you've done already to start building this company. For us, sales and network is key. We are developers, designers, business coaches, but we can't sell your idea for you. We need to partner with people who have the ability to network, grow, and sell. And one day, marketing and brand will do the growing for you. But before you're a well-known company, you need to drive that growth yourself. As Paul said last week, it's like a hand crank. And once the engine's going, great. But we can't risk waiting for that period with no growth. So we want to see someone who's confident in going out, speaking to customers. They're happy to go in and we'll help them, but they're going to drive out on growth and sales. That's key to us. This is a difficult one. Some investors say you need to be so determined that nothing will stop you. And other investors will say you need to be so flexible that you can, ride the punches and you're not stuck to one plan. So which is it? Do you need to be determined or do you need to be flexible? I think the best analogy is something like rugby or American football. If I've got the ball, I am determined to get to the end so I can score points. My goal is fixed. I need to get to the end, but I need to be flexible in how I get there, because if someone comes and tackles me, I might need to go backwards. I might need to dodge. I might need to pass. So what we're looking for is someone who is determined to solve the problem, but they don't think that they know it all today. They're not saying that plan A is the plan that will work. So be determined in your overall goal. I want to create a company to solve this problem. I want to grow it really fast, and I want to work with technology to do it. But then be flexible in, we've got our initial customers. We need to go through many iterations of product. There's still loads of things we don't know. And we're looking for that kind of honesty so that we can really work out who we can help the best. So it's a hard one to balance, but we will be trying to judge you on how determined are you to get to the end, and how flexible will you be if you work with us? Will you be open to feedback? Will you be open to pivots? Will you be open to change? Another similar one is the balance between optimism and realism. So starting a startup is so hard that we need people who are relentlessly optimistic, people who really do believe in the final outcome, people who are willing to push through difficult times in order to see their startup succeed. However, we're an early stage startup, and this comes back to being flexible. Be realistic with the challenges that you need to overcome to get your product to market, to get your company started. We're not looking for someone with all the answers, but we do want to work with someone who can be optimistic about the company whilst being realistic about the challenges we need to face. So feel free to outline why you're here today. What is it you want from Nova? Do you need help in delivering the marketing and the messaging? Do you need help in refining the product? Be realistic with what we need to do together so that we can get a good feel for how we would work together and what we need to do. But make sure that you're optimistic, because we want to work with someone who can see that end goal. And finally, a good communicator, and this will come through your whole pitch, hopefully, as long as you're thoughtful and concise and open to Q&A. But what a good pitch does is it convinces us that you can convince other people. So it's really worth getting your pitch down, building the structure, and running through it as many times as you can to test the content. Because if you can't pitch us very well, then we won't believe that you can pitch a customer very well, that you can pitch co-founders very well, that you can pitch other investors very well. So it's kind of a test within the test, and we are absolutely looking for good communicators. Yeah, so highlight yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? We want to add considerable value to deals. If you're already got all the strengths and no weaknesses, then what value are we going to add? So feel free to be honest in that sense. Allow your passion and personality to come through. It should be quite a conversational pitch. We don't want to invest in robots. We want to invest in people that we're going to work with very closely. So it's more important that your personality comes through than you are saying all the right words very specifically. So, allow yourself to be relaxed and allow yourself to talk to them as if it was a conversation. And find areas to demonstrate your expertise in history. Show your job history. How does it relate to this venture? Find the right times in your pitch to drop in anecdotes and nuggets about the market, so that you come across as a real expert in that industry. This can be things like, did you know 80% of the market is controlled by 5% of the companies? We wouldn't know that. We're not experts in every market, but by saying little things like that, you're highlighting your own expertise, and that's who we want to work with. So very quickly, I would recommend everyone probably creates a few slides to help keep yourself on track and to help just amplify the message that you're delivering. But again, I keep this really simple. Don't worry about the full brand of it. No one's ever raised money because they had a nice pitch deck. It's just one little factor of an overall pitch. So the only tips I'm going to give you: can we read it easy? Make sure that they're clean, they're legible. There's not loads of things all over the place. I can just read it, and I can take it in very quickly. The slides complement you. They don't do it for you. So don't put the slides up and then read from the slides. These are prompts to help you talk about your business, or they are visual help explainers that will help cement the idea in the mind of the investor. So again, no one's ever secured funding because their deck did it for them. It's the combination of the two. And bring it all together, what you've learned so far. So we're looking for people who have taken in the learning from Lean Stack, who have adapted their lean canvas based on what they're learning, and have clear traction roadmaps for the goals they need to hit in order to be successful. Feel free, the more you can pull this stuff in, and again, don't just put the lean canvas up and read it. That wouldn't be good. But leverage the key things that you're doing in this program to show us that you're engaged and that you're learning, and that you're someone who can be coachable. But you've also pulled together some key assets for the business, and that will really help speed up the pitch creation. And finally, make sure you have fun. We're going to work with you for at least 9 months, and we're going to work very, very closely. We don't want to work with someone who can't have a laugh, who can't smile, and can't work as a team. So let yourself smile. Everything comes across much better when you do. Don't let yourself get too stressed or worried. You have 5 minutes to get of an opportunity to pitch your idea, get feedback, and hopefully move forward after that. But it's not the be all end all. Make sure that you feel comfortable, and it's not too formal a setting. As you can see, we're all in our own homes. We're not all wearing shirts. It's going to be let yourself have fun when you're doing it. So what's the process going forward? I'll quickly go into it before we take any questions. So this was the practice pitch webinar to give you some overall tips on how to structure your pitch. Next week, we're going to be doing pitch workshops. So we're going to have some breakout rooms on Zoom. Each breakout room will have a member of our team in it, and we'll get a few people in and we'll do collaborative pitch feedback. So everyone will get a chance to pitch, everyone will get a chance to feedback, and it will really help improve your pitch for the final day. A form went out today, a bit early, apologies, but it should now be working. A form went out to everyone to sign up for next week's session. If you can't make it, let us know, because it's pivotal that you try to attend this session. This is how we're going to decide who gets to come to the pitch day at the end of the program. Each of the people inside the room will be making some notes and helping work out who is ready to articulate their idea properly. So sign up. You've got a week to practice, then you can practice with us, and then you've got another week to practice. If you can't make it, let us know, because we'll organize another session with you if you want to be at the pitch day. But if we don't see you between now and the pitch day, you won't be on it. So make sure you sign up or you let us know. And then ultimately, the link went out last time that allows you to book myself, Joe, or Pedro. We've had lots of good meetings with founders, and we're already starting to identify people that we want to be there on the last day. So you've got 2 weeks. Make sure you book us in. Make sure you get your time. Make sure you ask the questions you want to ask or get the feedback you want to get, so that you can get put on that pitch demo days in mid-November. I think that's everything. Have I missed anything, Pedro?
No, I think that's it. I think that's it. Excellent. I think everything's there. Okay, very good. I mean, the presentation was very, very interesting, but it's always better to see this in practice, right? Because sometimes theory is not enough to understand how it works, right? So we are gonna do some practice, but before that, why don't we answer the questions that we have here? So we have 5 questions. Why don't we go over all of them? And then we do some practice. So first question, do we need to put how much investment we need and what we are gonna do with that money, such as how much money for hiring new talents, how much money for marketing and sales? Yep, do we need to do this? You're mute.
Yeah. No, you don't need to put that, Erwin. It would be good to get an idea of the challenges you want to face, but the way the co-foundry model works is because we'll be becoming co-founders with you, we will help you define the best route to get to market, the best way to spend the funds, and we'll help you with our team do these things. So we don't need the full breakdown of what you need. We just want to know what challenges do you need help overcoming, and then we can help work out the best way to do that.
Very good. There is another question here that says, how would you go about explaining deep technical terms specific to an industry? For example, if the target customer are software developers and what the problem I would solve is, and the problem that I would solve is deeply technical and only users will understand it. Yeah, how do you go about this? For example, I was in a pitch in which there was somebody pitching to me how to create an analytics software that is using basically a network topology of different data elements. How do you go about pitching things that are intrinsically complicated?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I really believe that you can start from a simple foundation, and whether or not the solution is super complicated, whether it's got network topology, whether it's got AI, these are factors within the solution that aren't necessarily, they're not the whole business. The whole business is still, why do we need to build that? What problem have the users got who need that data analytics stuff? And if you can't explain that simply, then what's the point in explaining a complex solution afterwards? For me, you should be able to find analogies. You should be able to find customer behaviors. If you want, you can say, okay, look, I'm a data analyst. This is my job. I go into the office and I do X, Y, and Z. Here are the problems with that. It takes too much time, too much cost. Then if you say, we've got a deeply technical solution based on what we do that will help our customers do X. It's based on new technology that's coming out, and I'll happily go into any detail post this on how we will do it. But we're not there to say, yes, that's a good solution. We're there to get a good feel for the problem that the business is trying to solve. So my advice would be really simplify it down based on who the user is and what problem they're facing. Allude to the high technical elements, but do be careful. You know, when we hear the words AI, you know, it's such a buzzword and it means so little. And especially in the early stage, you know, it sounds like the word magic, like we're going to solve it with magic. So I would suggest, even with complicated things, boiling them down to their essentials and then highlighting the overall advantages of your solution rather than the deep specific technical elements of it. If you're chosen based on the market that you're going into and your experience, then we can get into that after the demo day.
Excellent. Very good. So next question is, if we can't attend next week workshop, can we still be shortlisted in the demo day in 2 weeks? Also an appointment with Luke and Joe for feedback before demo day. If you really want to be in the demo day, but you cannot, if you really want to be in the workshop, which is next Wednesday, 8 p.m. in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur and 7 p.m. in Jakarta, then what can you do, Luke?
Yeah, so let us know that you can't make it, because we're using it as an engagement tool to work out who wants to pitch. We will then do a session with you to give you feedback on your pitch and let you know if you've been selected for the final day. So email us, let us know, and we'll book in a specific session for you. If we get enough people that can't make next week's 8 o'clock, we might even run a secondary session another day, or we'll do them separate. So yeah, you can still come to the pitch, but you need to engage with us, though. We won't be putting anyone down who we haven't met and heard the pitch for.
And there is another link. There is a link that we have sent you in a few emails where you can book time with Luke, with Joe. You cannot choose the person. It's chosen automatically who is available, but you can book time with us.
Yeah, and we're all going to say the same things. We all believe in the same methodology, the same philosophy. So whether you get me, Pedro, or Joe, it's going to be the same quality and same type of information. So it really doesn't matter who you book with.
Yeah, there is a comment here. I have received the email containing the link, sign up for the workshop, but I can't fill it because it says I don't have the access. I have opened the
fixed that.
We have solved that problem.
Yeah, we fixed it.
If you still see that, let us know, but it should be solved by now. Mm-hmm. Very good. So why don't we do the following thing? We have a few questions here. Why don't we go to do some practice, and then we come back to the questions?
Sure.
Right? Does it make sense? So in order to do some practice, I'm going to share YouTube. I'm going to share my screen. And here I have a video about pitch practice from Y Combinator. It is very, very interesting. You can go to YouTube and type what I typed here, Y Combinator startup pitch practice. There are several videos. I'm just using one of them. So what I'm going to show you is a person who goes to Y Combinator. As probably all of you know what Y Combinator is. It's a very, very prominent and very successful VC in the US. So this is this lady goes to Y Combinator and is pitching her idea. You will see in the video that the investor does not really always understand everything she says. The investor is asking questions. The pitch is a conversation. In fact, there is nothing wrong about making it a conversation. So don't expect the pitch just to have somebody listening to you for 5 minutes. Maybe the person is just going to ask you questions. So it's going to be a conversation. And I'm going to play this video. This is a little bit longer than a normal of our pitches, which is 5 minutes. This one is going to be 9 minutes. But I want you to listen to what happens, listen to the questions, and basically get the idea that the lady is explaining it, but it's not explaining it in the best possible way. And then after that, I'm going to show you another video of the same idea pitched by somebody who is really pitching it perfectly. It comes across very clearly. This person is putting all the business elements that the investor wants to hear up front, and it goes so nicely. So let's look at this video. And Luke, if you have some comment, just intervene, and I will stop it. So this is a lady that is talking about her idea, and her idea you see here is called Shipamax. It's about shipping. By the way, the company exists and it's a successful company now. This is a pitch from 2016. So let's go.
Okay. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Jenna. I'm from Shipamax, and we help agricultural, energy, and mining companies hire ships. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about containers. I'm talking about full ships.
Okay, so you do something with ships.
Yes.
I got that part.
So you see that the investor is already not understanding. So she just mentioned one sentence and the investor is already unclear and asking for more clarification.
Yeah.
So this is like if I need to go rent, is this like a rental? Like I need to go rent
So you are a commodity trader. You need to shift 50,000 tons of coal from South Africa to Rotterdam. You come to us to find that ship.
I see. So I took a position on coal in South Africa.
Yeah, quickly. So she should have started with that, right? Like you are a commodity trader. You need to get 50,000 pounds of coal to South Africa. Where do you go? That should have been the start of the pitch, not you're an energy company and you need a broker. She should have started with her second sentence.
Then I'm like, oh no, I've got to get it someplace else. And what would I do today? Well, I don't know anything about this business, so.
And this is the case. In most cases, the investor knows nothing about your business.
Yeah.
And I have listened to many pitches, and in many of them, it's just so hard to understand the idea. So you have to assume that the investor does not know your industry.
Exactly. And the question he just asked is a really powerful one. How do people do it today? And if you're talking about a complicated market or something, you know, it's a really good idea to start with how they do it today. You know, is it manual? Is it complicated? Does it involve many stakeholders? It's a really good way of explaining to someone who doesn't know the market the individual pains of the customer.
Let's go.
Today, you would pick up your phone and your email, and you would call 5 to 10 brokers and say, hey, I need to move this stuff.
I see. So this is like a marketplace where right now there's these brokers, and they take a big cut, and then you're going to, like, what's the value proposition for me as a trader? So
think about it like this. Today, you're speaking to all these different brokers. It can take you 3 to 24 hours to get some indications back. It can take you up to 2 weeks to actually book that ship. With ShipperMax, we use satellite technology and navigation to cover every ship on Earth, and we can tell you which ship can make it in time and fit the specifications and is open in seconds.
Okay, so is the idea that it's just easier for me, or do I get a better price? Like, what closes the deal?
So,
what is the value proposition, right? Why does it make sense?
There's two things when you think about trading. One, it's like a very binary thing. As a commodity trader, you need to know what your delivered price is to the customer. Otherwise, someone else can come and get that deal instead of you. And both myself and my co-founder have lost multi-million-pound deals for not getting freight fast enough. And the second proposition is really service. Would you rather speak to 5 brokers and receive thousands of emails per deal, or would you rather say, this is my ship, let's go?
So that's a really strong value proposition. You know, they've lost millions of pounds on deals. The service when speaking to 5 brokers is painful, and it's a really frustrating experience. The issue is he had to ask about that. You know, she could have started with any of this stuff. She could have said, these are the issues you face. She didn't explain how ShipperMax was going to help until later. You know, it was really interesting. We have satellite technology and we can cover every ship. That alludes to the question before about complicated solutions. I'm sure it's much more complicated than what she just said, but at least we have an idea of how it would work. Now, you guys might not have the luxury of someone like Paul Bouquet asking you these questions. So make sure that you've covered in the key pains and the key value propositions as you're explaining it, because we won't be on stage asking you to do it. But clearly she has all the information. She just hasn't thought about it well enough to construct a clear opening pitch. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to ask any of this stuff, and he could start asking more interesting questions. And because your Q&A is going to be super limited, you don't want them asking questions like, what's the value proposition for the user? You will have just said that. You want them to ask questions about the future of the company and where's the market going and how do you see this working? You don't want them getting caught up on these questions. So really think about how you can layer in this great insight, because it is really good insight what she's saying, but she could have said it all up front and made the whole conversation much smoother.
Okay.
Sounds better. I'm not in that position. So do you have a lot of traction? I mean, what's your growth rate? So
we launched our beta about 7 weeks ago, and since then, what we were trying to do is talk to these charterers, these traders, to see if they would.
You can see in her body language that she's nervous. Obviously, you're going to be nervous that day, but just take it easy. Don't worry. Just take it easy. There are many opportunities.
Talk to us and give us requests. To date, we've had about 4.5 million worth of requests. And last week was a great win for us because we signed one of the largest energy trading companies in the world. They shift 150 million tons of products annually.
And what does that deal represent for you? How much revenue are you going to make off of that?
So
This is
Can you
a
pause it there,
fundamental
Pedro?
question. Yes?
So this is my last comment, and I'll shut up. Imagine you signed up one of the world's largest energy shippers, and you waited until question 5 to tell your investor. Like, this is a huge. She's a 7-week-old company, and she's got a massive customer on board. Wouldn't that make you really interested as an investor? So that's why the traction piece is so important. He had to ask 5 questions to find out that this early stage company has a huge customer on board. You know, again, something that you can easily weave into your pitch and make sure that that's something that the judges know before they go into questions. And I'll be quiet for the rest of it now because I keep interrupting.
The other thing I would say about this point is this. At this moment when she says that it looks like this is such a huge deal, later in the conversation, you realize that this deal is not firm, and you realize that the value of this deal is only $10,000 for them. So I see an overstatement. I mean, you want to put things in the best possible way, but you also don't want to be caught in an overstatement. And we will see how this conversation follows. And then you will see the other person that is pitching the same idea, how he says that. And it's so different and so amazing. Let's continue.
So we're still competing with other brokers right now. The revenue potential is 15 million annually. So we're now receiving those requests to compete on a deal-by-deal basis to be faster and better.
So from their perspective, you're just another broker. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
right
they
now.
don't even know that you're like a tech company. They're just like, oh, new broker.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad for you?
So we're kind of edging our way in. So the way I've started this conversation is saying like, hey, our goal is to make this much, much faster, like help us get there. So they're giving us a go. They want smarter intelligence. The smaller companies want better access to the market. So today we're just saying, yeah, it's not all perfect out of the box right now, but give us a go. We're not worse than the other brokers.
Have they used you yet, or did they just say, we'll think about you?
No, yeah, they're giving us requests to...
So how many ships have you shipped?
We haven't shipped any right now. We've basically been getting those requests, which was our first test to see will they give them to us, because that's actually quite a big deal because they're telling you market information.
Does that mean that they're sending you the request, but then they're going with a different broker?
Right now, basically what our problem has been is that we need a bit more funding to get more men on the ground to help fulfill these requests. Because right now, some of the larger brokers have better intelligence. So we're starting kind of from zero, and each time we're kind of getting closer and closer to actually booking that deal and beating the brokers.
So you haven't actually won any deals yet?
Not yet.
How soon will you win a deal?
I think next week.
All right, well, we should talk next week. So how much will that deal be worth then, assuming you do get this deal next week?
That should be worth $10,000.
And what will be your costs behind it? Is that like pure profit for you?
That's like pure profit. So our cost is just like the men, the people.
Now, why is this going to be like a $100 billion company?
So it's a huge market. So today, like the amount that these traders spend on brokerage fees today is about $3 billion, at least at current market low rates. The largest company today is a company called Clarkson's, who make 240 million GBP per annum.
I mean, to me, that also means like you have some really formidable competitors. Like, are they really just going to roll over and let you take their business?
Well, no, I don't think they're going to roll over. But so I think what's interesting that's happening is that the problem with these big guys, like they are superior to the small brokers, right? They have more intelligence and they can serve bigger clients better. But who they can't serve is the little guys. And they can't serve them because it's so manual with all their processes. So
basically, you're thinking you're going to come in at the bottom of the market where they're just totally neglected.
Yeah.
Is that who you're going after right now? Is that?
So you see that we are 7 minutes into the conversation, and the value proposition is not yet clear. It's not yet clear what the company does. It's not yet clear what kind of customers are going to pay for this and why, right? So, yeah. And the investor is still digging, he's still trying to find out.
Yeah. Imagine getting 7 minutes into a pitch and now explaining that your customer is the small client, not the big one. So, it's quite confusing for Paul. Like, he's 7 minutes into asking questions about the business and he's still finding out information about the type of market that they're going for. This could have all been done much, much cleaner.
First customers, is that at the bottom of the market?
No, we've been starting at the bottom of the market, but actually a lot of the big guys want to talk to us too because of the superior intelligence that we can actually leverage through data.
But I mean, if there is this bottom of the market that's totally neglected, why not? Like, because you haven't done any ships yet, right? Like, why not just go find some of these guys who are super neglected?
Mm-hmm. No, we are working with those as well.
So is this? It seems like I see a lot of startups where they're basically the high-level pitch is there's these brokers that make a lot of money, and we're going to cut them out with technology and take all of the money. But I mean, just as a general form, like the most obvious for me and familiar to most of us is like the real estate market, right? Like Redfin or someone was going to come in and just blow away the brokers. But so far, it seems like, I don't know if I've seen any of those markets. It seems like the brokers are very good at holding on to their position.
So the key thing in this market, I mean, there's one thing to say that we still have brokers. So we're not a pure technology play. We're enabling our brokers to be much smarter than anyone else. And the cool thing about this market is that intelligence is the main driver. Traders reward their brokers with deals based on intelligence because you need that intelligence to keep getting good rates. So if you can build a platform that is the only thing that can aggregate and digest this like explosion of information at scale, you're the only person that can speak to these small companies and the big companies and mine all that data to actually serve people more effectively than anyone else.
Okay. So supposing I do believe all of that and that like there is going to be this one tech company that just manages to displace all of the brokers, why should I believe it's you?
So our team combines like a few things, like one, startup experience and actually growing the businesses, to very experienced brokers on team, as well as people who have been on the trading side of this market, as well as deep technical talent. And I think you need all those things, and it's very difficult. People in this industry generally don't know anything about technology. It's a very old industry, and people who understand technology generally don't understand like the niche things that you need to care about when shipping 50,000 tons worth of commodities.
Have you shipped a lot of commodities?
A few.
How much?
So it was more my co-founder than me on the commodities, and he was shipping.
So that is a little bit weak as well, right? So have you shipped a lot of commodities? And then she says yes, but then when he goes into the details, it was actually somebody else. The co-founder. I mean, she could have been upfront about it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think one thing she did do well there, sorry, Pedro, is she combined the insight with the market with her team. So why has this not happened? Because no one technical has partnered with people from commodity shipping to do this, and that's what we've done. So the insight to why it's not happened, plus why their team is the right people to do it. That's actually a nice nugget from her pitch.
Yep. And now we're reaching the end, actually.
Tens of thousands of tons of fertilizer.
People are signaling to me. Does that mean it's time?
And this is the end. The pitch is a good pitch. Actually, the company is successful. If you want, you can go to the website, and it's called Shipamax, and it's a company that it exists today. So she has been successful, right? But obviously, there are a lot of opportunities of improvement in this pitch. Now, this exercise that Y Combinator does, they call it pitch practice. How does it work? They invite an entrepreneur to pitch an idea, and then there is another partner from Y Combinator that is listening. Then after that, this new partner is going to go to the stage and is going to present the same idea, but is going to present it in a completely different way. And this is what we are going to see now. Now there is the other guy whose name is Sam Altman. He's a Y Combinator partner, and he's going to tell us the same story in a much better way. So let's go there. So this is give me a second. So this starts here, 12:35. So let's go. Let's listen to this. We're going to, it's 4 minutes. So it's the normal duration of a pitch. We're going to listen to it from beginning to end without stopping it. It's 6 minutes, this one, 6 minutes. It's very good. It's a very good pitch. So I'm not going to stop it. We can comment it later if you want.
So, hey, Paul, I'm Sam from ShipMX.
Hi.
So I'd love to tell you about what we do, and maybe I can just start with kind of who we are. So we are building a marketplace for shipping. Shipping is still 9% of world GDP. It's one of the biggest markets people don't think about, and it hasn't moved forward much with technology. So it's still, if you need to ship something, you call around, you call a broker who then knows a bunch of ships. They try to find one somewhere in the world that can take what you need, and then you pay them and they ship it for you. Everyone thinks that the market has become really efficient because they've read the box and they know about containers and they think they're like, this is a solved problem. But still more than half of all cargo doesn't get shipped that way. And there's been no winner that's emerged for a Uber-like shipping experience where basically you click a button, you say, I need to ship from here to here, you get a rate, you get a boat, and it goes. So that's what we're building, and the standard broker fees are like 15%, and so we think this is a really large market. I'd be happy to tell you about more details of our approach, but is this something that at a high level seems interesting to you?
Yeah, if you're going to make a lot of money, it is. It is interesting to me. So,
well, I'd love to tell you why we're going to make a lot of money. Not only is this a giant market, shipping broker fees on cargo shipping is a $150 billion a year market, but there is a natural monopoly in that, like any other marketplace, the people that have cargo want to go where they can get the cheapest rate and the most options, and the people that have boats want to go where the most people that need something shipped are. And so even though no one has brought software to this industry yet, and it's been this sort of network of people calling, brokers calling around to ships they know.
Why haven't one of these existing brokers just eaten up the market?
Well, why does any industry not adopt software? I think there's a great quote I heard recently that it is harder for existing companies to get good technology people than it is for good technology people to learn about other industries. And this is why startups have an opportunity. This is why...
Is that the only way that you can eat the industry then? Is that, it's just naturally fragmented if you don't have software? Is that your theory?
Well, yeah, I think it's like any other industry. It's like Airbnb couldn't have worked without software. You just had people call around and find vacation homes that happened to be free, or you had to call taxi companies before Uber and find a cab that was free. The magic of software is just that any of these industries can become centralized on one platform that gives everybody a central experience. And in these large markets, these platforms tend to be winner take all or winner take most and create super valuable companies.
So my fear with these kinds of businesses is always just that, anytime like tech people go in and they say, oh, we're going to change everything, but then they show up and the customer says, I've been doing it this way for the last 30 years. I'm going to do it till I'm dead. Like, how do I know they're actually going to adopt your new approach?
One of the secrets that we've learned as we've been working on this business, and we're very new, we're only 7 weeks old. We still have a lot of things left to figure out. But one of the things that we've learned is most people are either all humans or all software, and that approach doesn't work. And what you need is the combination. You need humans aided by software. This is just like Palantir, how PayPal dealt with fraud. And this is what customers want. So we're actually going to have a bunch of brokers that customers can talk to on the phone like they're used to. But we'll give them software that makes them 100 times or 1,000 times more efficient. But you're totally right. And the reason other people have failed doing this is they don't understand this. And they just have a pure software platform. And it really is the combination of humans and software together that makes this still work with customers that have been doing it for a long time, but have the advantages of a software company in scale.
So is this working right now? Do you have a lot of customers?
So we're super early. We haven't been able to raise any money yet. We're only 7 weeks old. In that 7 weeks, we've been able to get 50 people that have sent us jobs. We don't yet have enough infrastructure in place to fulfill those, but we expect to actually book 3 boats next week, and we'll make our first $10,000 of revenue. And we think we have a path from that just over the next few months on our existing contacts and what we know is coming in our pipeline to get to $100,000 in revenue. And that's not GMV or anything like that. That's actual profit that we're going to keep. We have nearly 100% margin on that.
And then what are your expenses?
Well, as I said, I think one of the key insights here is that we're going to be humans and software together. We're going to be brokers and a platform. So our biggest expense by far will be paying the broker's salary and commissions. But again, I wasn't joking when I said I think we can make them 100 times more efficient with software. You would not believe how broken the industry is today. It would pain you to watch how one of these brokers works. So we think there's still substantial economics for us there.
So how big does this get ultimately? Like, where do you see the business in like 5 and 10 years?
Well, the charter market alone, the broker market alone, is about $150 billion. And
is that gross?
No, that's net in the market. The shipping market
that's their markup.
Yeah, the shipping market's in the trillions. Again, it's one of the largest drivers of worldwide GDP. But, we're pretty ambitious. We think this is a big market and that there is a natural monopoly. It could get pretty big. We're very early, but...
And why should, assuming I do believe that story, why do I believe it's you and not some other people with software?
So... we ourselves used to have to do this a lot, and we understand a lot of the things that most people don't. We're commodities traders. We've shipped huge amounts of goods, and we've learned these non-obvious things. Like, the most important thing for a commodity trader is not the price, but the speed and the certainty. So it's really important to know if you're going to trade on a razor-thin margin that you can have a ship on a particular day at a particular cost before you buy the coal or whatever. And that's just one example I could give you of many, but we've been doing this our whole lives. We really know about this, and we're software people.
That's great. Well, we're out of time, but...
So really quickly, I'd love to have you as an investor. You want to rush your process, but how should we follow up? What are the next steps? How do you think about this?
I usually like to just kind of turn on it for a little while, and I may come up with some extra questions. So just drop me an email and include whatever other info that would be helpful.
Okay, I'll send you an email now, and can I follow up with you in a week or two and see if you need anything else?
Sure, yeah, just feel free to ping me.
All right, thank you, Paul.
Great, thanks.
Well, so this is the video. So it's completely different, right? It's completely different experience. You see that Sam Alton starts explaining the industry and explaining the problem. Most of the time is used to explain how that industry works and what problem they have, right? After that, he starts talking about the traction that he has. He has onboarded 50 customers. He's potentially going to have an order next week. So he talks about the traction, and this is what we were discussing about last week, about how to get traction. So showing results of your surveys or showing potential customers that you have that have pre-registered with you, even if you don't have an MVP, is very important. Then he goes talking about the potential of this solution, the industry. After that, he's asked about why you, which is always the question, right? Why you are the right person to do this. And then he actually gives the same answer as the previous speaker, right? And finally, there is one point here when he says, well, how do we follow up, right? He's actively asking the question, how do we follow up? What is the process right now? So this is basically what he has done. Very different experience as a listener than the previous speaker, right? It is much more clear. Some other comments, Luke?
I think it shows the power of a good pitch. The initial founder is the domain expert. She is the CEO, and she's the person that you'd want to back. But when you watch that pitch, I'd be more inclined to back Sam Altman, even though he doesn't know anything about the industry. So this is what I was saying right at the beginning. You need to give the chance for your ideas to get heard, because she's the person to back, but off the pitch, Sam would be the person to back. So it's really about highlighting your own experience and being able to communicate clearly so that you get backed when you should get backed. And I think it just shows the power of being confident and concise and having really thought about what you're going to say.
Absolutely. So, I mean, actually, I want to reiterate that Jenna is the lady that was pitching the idea. She finally succeeded in creating this company. So this is a successful company, right? And so that basically means that she had the ability, the qualifications, the courage, the strength to create a startup. We are talking about communication here, how to communicate better, how to pitch it better, right? So if you don't mind, Luke, let's go back to the questions. We have 15 questions, 16 questions now. And then after that, if we have time, we can look at the second video. You can also go to YouTube. You go to YouTube and you look for a Y Combinator pitch practice. There are a lot of examples that follow the same logic. One entrepreneur that is pitching an idea, and then the Y Combinator partner kicks in and pitches the same idea, but in a much better way. So let's go back to the questions. Yeah. If I don't really have an initial traction group first of customers who are on board, will that put me at a disadvantage in the pitch? What will be a reasonable size of traction group that you will be looking at, that you will be looking for? Does it put you at a disadvantage? Well, actually, having traction is important. I mean, by comparison, it does put you as a disadvantage in comparison to other ideas that do have the traction, right? What will be a reasonable size? It depends. We had a conversation last week, right, with Paul Dodd. It depends on whether the idea is B2B or B2C. I think the rule of thumb would be that in a B2C environment, you will be looking at 100, maybe 200 people. In a B2B environment, less, maybe 20 people.
Maybe even 10. Yeah, maybe even 10.
20 people.
It depends on how big the company is, right? So like, if you only had IBM, that's a good panel because IBM's a huge company that will really help us develop the product. If you only have 5 of your friends for the next Facebook, that's not significant. That doesn't give us any indication of future success. So it is a competitive day. So the people with the most traction are the most likely to get picked to be invested in. That's the hard facts of the world. There are no fast rules of thumb. You explain to us why your traction is sufficient to do the right product development and to learn the things we need to learn about the market so that we can scale. Get what you can, you know. There's a deadline. You've got time to go get people and to have those conversations. My advice is the only 2 things you should be really doing now, if you're really serious about getting investment with Nova, is working on your pitch and getting more people signed up for traction. So there's no hard rule. You're against everyone else in this chat. The people with the best traction naturally will have the best evidence, the best insights, and it de-risks for us. We're not waiting for customers. They've already got them. So yeah, it would put you at a disadvantage.
And traction is a matter of time. So you might not have the traction for 2 weeks' time or mid-November, but this works on a rolling basis. So maybe you have the traction later in January and we can talk again. So that does matter.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have a little bit of traction, you need some people. Otherwise, it's just you and your idea. We need some evidence of specific customer demand. But you might still have not enough, but enough to be interesting to us. And then we'll work with you after the day to fill up the traction. So it's not a no if you haven't got the right panel size. It might be a yes if you can grow it, but you need to have the initial seeds of that traction. Otherwise, there's no evidence really of the customer demand. And if you think that sharing a report is evidence of customer demand, it's a helpful piece of information. But the fact that someone's written a report about it means that it's obvious, and loads of people know that. We're looking for unique insight gained from specific customer.
Very good. So next question. Sometimes my English is just not enough to explain what's in my head. It becomes worse when I got nervous. Should I hire someone and train them in my idea and let them do the pitching, do the presentation for me? No.
No, you shouldn't, because you are the company. We are buying into you. It's difficult public speaking, especially in a different language. You know, I really appreciate what you're saying. But that says to me that you need to spend more time practicing your pitch and becoming confident and pitching it to people to get feedback on what was clear and what was not. That's the only way you can gain confidence. It's the same as saying, I'm the founder, I'm going to hire a salesperson to sell my startup for me. It doesn't work like that. No one will connect with your company as well as you will. It's your passion that we want to see. If you're going to hire someone to do the pitch for you, I would advise that don't turn up. Instead, use the time with us to gain that confidence and gain feedback on how to improve your own pitching skills. It's critical that you, the founder, are there, not some paid-for person.
Yeah. Sometimes some people ask, do I need to translate the research that I'm doing because my research is in Bahasa Indonesia? The answer is no, you don't need to translate the research. You just need to explain the conclusions of that research in English. To us in English, because I'm not fluent in Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Malaysia, unfortunately. I'm trying to, but I'm not. Or in Chinese. Next question, if I already have a pitch deck, can I use that to present for the pitch, or do I have to use the link canvas method?
You can use your own pitch deck. The rules will apply still, has to be 5 minutes. We will cut you off, so make sure that it still fits in 5 minutes. Obviously, you're doing it at your own risk. You know what we want to see. So as long as your deck hits those points, do what you think is best. Like I said, you do not need to put your lean canvas up there. We've already got it. I'm saying leverage the key elements from that to help build your pitch if you haven't got one already. So yeah, feel free to construct your own deck. Feel free to use decks you already have, but you know what we're looking for. And if it just comes across as the same pitch that you've given to every other investor, then you know that wouldn't be a very good one for us. So if you think it fits, go ahead.
Okay. Is it compulsory for all company partners to pitch in the video? I have a silent partner, minority shares, who prefers me to present the company. Please advise. So if there are co-founders, they don't need?
We need to see the main founder, the CEO, the future founder, the founder and the future CEO, really. That person is the key person. If you have a silent partner or minority shares, they don't all need to be there. If you have a techie guy, they don't need to be there. Feel free to invite them if you think they can add value or in the questions that you want them to talk a little bit. But no, we know the main person we want to see, and it's you, the founder.
Okay. Next question is, if you are already doing the NOVA program, will the pitch be a fast track to being shortlisted? I don't know if I understand. So if you are already doing the NOVA program, will the pitch be a fast track to being shortlisted? Okay, there is a program on LeanStack in which you have a number of videos to understand how lean startups work, and you have to produce a lean canvas, you have to produce a traction roadmap, which is a mini financial model, and then you have to produce a very short pitch video. I understand that this is what you are referring to as the NOVA program. Well, I mean, those are the 3 deliverables that are required for anyone to pitch. So if you don't have these 3 deliverables, then you cannot pitch. So you need to have produced the lean canvas, the traction roadmap, et cetera, right? Is that a fast track? No, it's a normal process. It's just the normal process. If you want to pitch, you have to fill that form that we have sent you. We will look at your application. If you have the traction roadmap and the lean canvas, we will tell you fine, welcome. If you don't have them, we will tell you you need to have them. Okay. Next question, Luke. This is for Luke. You were talking about slides. Does it mean NOVA prefers our lean canvas to be in PPT slide presentation, or can I do a short video using Clipchamp with background music and inserted slides as well, for example, PowerPoint?
I think the best thing to do is create some slides and speak with them naturally. I don't think videos with music are very engaging. I think it's like, hey, everyone, let's watch this thing I produced earlier, and then I'll take questions. It's not a good pitch. It doesn't show that you can convince other people. Is that how you would do it with a customer? I don't know. So my advice would be, don't do a video. Again, you don't need to put your whole lean canvas in there. I want to be clear. That is, your lean canvas are the key elements of your business plan. So feel free to take out elements and put them in slides. That's how I build my pitch decks. I do my lean canvas first, and then I take the key elements, put them in slides, and add the narration around it. If you turn up and you want to play a video instead of pitching, you won't be invited to the pitch day. We want to see real people pitching their ideas, and I'd advise having some form of slides to help do that.
Okay, very good. So let's continue with the questions. By the way, you can vote for the questions, and if multiple people vote for a question, we will take it first. So let me take one here. Rose is asking, is the 5 minutes a Q&A or our full presentation? No, your pitch is 5 minutes. After that, you will have other 5 minutes for Q&A. Yeah. So in total, it's gonna be 10 minutes, which could be extended. If the Q&A gets extended for 1 or 2 minutes more, it will be okay. But there will be a limit, a total limit in around 11, 12 minutes. You have 5 minutes for the pitch. The rest is Q&A.
Yeah.
So let's go. So this one is also answered. The solution I'm working on is a marketplace. With regards to the problem, do I address the problem faced by the customer or by the vendor? The answer is by both, because you need both.
Yep. So imagine if you were pitching Airbnb, you need to talk about why travelers would want to stay in someone else's home. But you also need to talk about why someone would want to rent their home to a traveler. Now, really interestingly, the key insight here with Airbnb was that people were listing spare space on Craigslist in New York and San Francisco. And that's because the rent was so expensive in New York and San Francisco. If I have a spare room, I have to rent it out. Otherwise, I can't afford rent. So it's those two key insights together that brought Airbnb its initial customers in New York and in San Francisco. So they explain both sides of the marketplace. Pick the one that makes the most sense to begin with, whether it's the one that the investors will easily understand because it's a natural human behavior, or pick the one with the biggest problem. And again, if you think a taxi, Uber, customers want to be able to book a taxi with one button off their phone. That's easy to understand. Why would the drivers come to Uber is equally important a question. And it's because they feel safe. The payment is done online. No one can steal money or rob them. They know who the customer is before they get in. There's ratings and rankings, so they're not going to get horrible customers, and they are much more relaxed drivers. And that's why Uber is going to get all the taxi drivers. So you have to absolutely explain the drivers between both.
Exactly. Next question is, during pitching, do we need to run the deck concurrently or submit it after the pitch event? You have to project the deck while you are talking, and yeah, you have to project the deck while you are talking, and then after that you will send that to us by email, but you have to project it as you are talking. How much should an early stage spend on marketing? I mean, it's variable. Maybe Luke, you can take it.
Yeah, it's super variable. It's all about how much value each customer's worth. If each customer's worth £10 and you're spending £20 to acquire them, it doesn't matter if you spent 20 quid or £20,000, that's not going to work. If you spent £50,000 acquiring one customer, but they're worth 5 million quid, that's a 10x return. So, it's all about the value of the customer against what you think the acquisition cost will be. I would say that if someone told me they'd spent all their money on marketing, £250,000, and didn't have a lot of traction, that's too much. So it's all subjective based on how much success and how much learning you've derived from that early spend marketing. There's no right or wrong answer, but anything that you've done that you can point to as a learning is definitely a big plus.
There are here two other interesting questions. So in relation to scalability at this stage, does the founder need to do market research outside his or her home country? Will the panel ask about market outside the home country? Thanks. I think here the question is this an idea that has a big enough market size, potential market size in your home country? If yes, no problem. If no, maybe you have to think about other countries. That will be my rule of thumb answer to that.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, one of the advantages of a technology company is that one day it can scale outside of a location. So whilst you're unlikely to have too many challenges about the early stage operating in one country, like most of our startups in the UK focus on the UK first, and then they start looking at similar markets basically, and that could be same language speaking, or it could be similar societal or similar problems. So it's only an advantage to know how you would scale outside of that country, and we will assume that the long-term plans are to at least scale outside of one country. Otherwise, we're not taking full advantage of technology. So it can help, but I think a laser focus on how we're going to get there is much more important than the potential at the end. So I don't think it will hold it against you if you don't have the full answers for that yet. That's totally understood.
Very good. And here we have another question that says, how many slides? How many slides do you need? You've got 5 minutes. So I'd suggest that 50 slides is too many because it'd be 10 seconds a slide. We are trying to find the right founders to work with. So you tell us what we need to know about the industry. Do it as concisely as you can. But if you need 10 slides, use 10 slides. I would suggest you've only got 5 minutes. So use that as a rule of thumb. Maybe one slide every 30 seconds. That gives you 10 slides. Is a good starting point. But if you need a few more, you don't need as many. That's for you to decide how you're going to explain that narrative. Okay. And another question here that comes in the chat: can I pitch without slides? Yes, you can. I do think it's risky. I think people are used to having some form of visual stimulus whilst you're talking. Otherwise, it can get a little bit boring. I did think about doing our whole talk today without slides, but actually I do think it might have helped structure the conversation. Even just for me, it helped structure the conversation to keep me on track. So you can. Is it recommended? No, it's not hard to make 10 slides. Look at mine. They don't have to be lovely design. They just need to help you explain what you need to do. Actually, you need less than 10 slides because, you only have 5 minutes. Typically, you're going to spend 1 minute per slide, right? You are not going to do, I have never done one slide in half a minute, right? So the order of magnitude will be around less than 10 because, right? Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'd recommend having them as well. Yeah, and to answer that question, I'd recommend having slides personally. Okay, very good. So let's watch the other pitch here in YouTube. It's very interesting, and then we come back to questions. So let me go back to YouTube, and I'm sharing my screen here in YouTube. So the second pitch is very interesting, and it is about an idea in healthcare, which is it has a very large scope. It's a very ambitious idea, and a lot of the feedback that this person is going to get is about actually how to start with something concrete. So let's listen to this idea. It's very interesting, a little bit shorter than before. So I think the pitch is around 4 minutes, which is like the duration, more or less the duration you're going to have. And then again, we have Sam Altman, who is, as I said, a partner in Y Combinator, who is going to come to the stage and pitch the same idea, but in a much clearer way. So let's go with this.
My name is Kelly Thomas Drake, and I am the president and founder of My Purple Folder. My Purple Folder is a HIPAA-compliant global healthcare app that provides consumers easy access, one-stop shop, leveraging and connecting existing patient data, while also delivering hospitals and physicians decreased administrative costs associated with patient care and an improved patient experience.
So you see, she is very solution-focused. So she has explained the solution with a lot of technicisms. This is a solution that is compliant with standards he has mentioned that probably the investor doesn't know about, but he has not explained what the problem is. Until now, I don't know what the problem is, right? I know a solution to something, to a problem that I don't understand. And let's see what Paul is going to say.
So is this like a EMR thing? Is this my health record?
It's actually all of them combined in one.
This is too broad, all of them combined. So this idea is so many things that we don't really know what it is, right? And I have been in pitches like this. It happens quite often, because sometimes we have a very broad, a very ambitious idea, but we have to start somewhere. And when you pitch, you have to be concrete, and you have to start with what you can build in 9 months, right? Because the NOVA program is going to be 9 months. So you have to go down to earth and pitch something that is concrete.
I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. So is this something that I, as a patient, want, or is it something for doctors? Who's the customer?
So the actual end user is the patient, the caregiver, which is their family member, and it's called my purple folder because I kept everything in a purple accordion folder when I was going through this with my grandmother.
Okay, so this is a place that I keep all of my medical records, essentially?
So essentially, if you're from the Bay Area and you have a Clipper pass, and you can go from ferry to BART to Muni to all of these different transportation systems with one pass, that's what my purple folder is. So
now I'm totally lost because I don't know whether this idea is about transportation or healthcare.
That's too abstract for me. So, I mean, I've been to hospitals and things like what is the problem that it solves for me? Is the problem that I have to move my medical records around? I'm still trying to figure out, is this for my medical records, or is this something other than medical records?
So I'd like to tell you that answer through a story, basically. So as of 2011, a federal piece of legislation was passed called Meaningful Use, which made an already antiquated system more disjointed. So my mother, as of late, was diagnosed with breast cancer. She is better now. She's in remission. However, she went from having one patient portal on one hospital campus to 7 because of hospital healthcare systems being so federally compliant that they forgot about you and me, the patient, the caregiver, the human. So this is a go-between no matter what patient portal, no matter what hospital, healthcare system, no matter what city, state, country. This is global access, coordinated, all at the top of my app, my purple folder, the patient care easy button.
So it's my...
I still don't understand what it is. I don't know if you guys understood, but I still not able to conceptualize what the problem is.
Medical records.
Sorry, Pedro.
Yeah, go on.
I think this is a great idea of something that's very vague and sounds quite impressive, like anywhere you go, your information, but there's no, I couldn't think about how to recreate it. I can't visualize at all what it is. Whereas Uber for shipping or a marketplace, it's easy to see. So.
Is that right? I'm. Is it like just yes or no? Is it my medical records?
Yes, in addition to some things.
Okay, what else is it? So it's my medical records.
It's your medical records. It's your healthcare legal records. It's your prescription.
So like
law.
my what do you call it? Like if I had a DNR or something, it would be in there. Is that?
So
do I keep my will in there? Or like advanced medical directives?
Just advanced directives, medical power of attorney, durable power of attorney. We have a universal HIPAA agreement because I also feel that when you're caught like a deer in the headlights and thrust a clipboard, you shouldn't have to answer legal questions then. You should have it figured out already.
I see. So I've got all of that in advance. So once I have this, I walk into the doctor's office and I say, hey, good news. I've got my purple folder here. And then the doctor says, that's awesome. Or like, does it work if the hospital or like medical facility I go to does not yet have your software, or do they have to be Like, do you need to sell all of the medical offices before it works for me as a patient?
Absolutely not. The way that we do it is the environment is right for doing the digitized version of what I did for my grandmother and what I've learned as of late. So, and what we've developed. So we leverage and connect existing patient data. We connect to the back-end EMR systems so that you, the new care provider, says, oh, well, I don't have that yet. We send it through geolocation technology. You receive a 007 encrypted link, and you input it in your system as you like.
A 007 encrypted link. So basically, the investor is not understanding what the problem is, but she keeps using a lot of technical words like 007 encrypted link, which are not, the only thing they are doing is to make things more confusing.
Okay, great. Well, we're all out of time, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
So this is her original pitch. So you see, the idea looks very large and clear, broad. You don't really know what her idea is, right? And the investor has been asking for it multiple times, but I think he didn't get an answer. And I think he didn't understand. And I think he's going to leave without understanding what the idea was, right? And that happens, unfortunately, too often, right? So now let's look at the other person, at Sam, who, as I said, is a partner in Y Combinator. And let's look at his speech, which is going to be very different. He's going to radically reduce the scope and make it much more understandable. So we go here.
All right. Hey, Paul, I'm from My Purple Folder.
Hi.
So healthcare in the U.S. is horrible. We spend 19.5% of our GDP on it, and we have the lowest satisfaction of any developed nation. And you might wonder why that is. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I have lots of ideas.
Well, I would actually love to hear, before we jump in, what do you think is the single biggest driver?
I mean, I think there's like no underlying economic model other than driving the cost higher, fundamentally, right?
Right.
Make more money by driving cost up.
So we think the same thing. You have this like runaway growth because there's just no incentive to do anything but charge more, do more tests, do more procedures, and the patient's out of control. So our whole goal is to put healthcare back in the hands of the patient so they have a sense of what's going on and see everything in one place. As we've had this explosion, patients have data on 6 or 7 different systems. They have prescriptions, they have appointments, they have communication with doctors. Most people can't use all the systems or one. And so we've just tried to make one consumer portal for all your medical records and any other medical data you have. If you have this, you can actually understand your care or a family member's care and actually have a much better experience and hopefully over time drive the cost way down. In the process, we become one central repository for all patient health data that actually works.
So basically, as a patient, this just has all of my medical records in there. Is that kind of the idea?
So we make that work magically. We connect with every system. We don't have to do any deal with them. We just use the APIs that they all have to have or secure email, whatever they have. But we make it work so that as a patient, you just say, I need to connect to these few systems, or your doctor can send you invites, and then you can view everything in one app.
I see. Now, is this something you sell to the patients or to the doctors? Who's the customer here?
Today, we're going to sell to patients. It's really hard, as you may know, to try to sell things to doctors and hospitals. But we have customers with their hair on fire, this burning problem of not being able to manage their healthcare or the healthcare.
What is the thing that actually drives someone? Like, what is the moment where my hair is on fire?
Well, one particular scary story from a friend of mine was a missed message about a potential cancer screen. But it's usually something like that. It's someone gets really sick or something bad happens because of a lack of information and communication.
And so the pitch to me as a consumer is that this brings together all of my information just so that I can peruse my medical records, or what am I doing with it?
Well, it's so that you can get better care. The issue, many people taking care of a sick parent or grandparent have run into the issue where they don't know what to do. The patient doesn't remember something, or the family member doesn't remember something. And the idea is these are complicated things. You'd really like to have a single set of information that says, here's when you need to take these medications, here are these test results, you have to go in to get this test, this doctor said this thing and wants you to tell his other doctor. It really is just about better care. And people are willing to pay an unlimited amount of money if they can get that actually to be good.
Are they paying you an unlimited amount of money right now?
So we've just started charging. We, unlike most healthcare companies, don't want to drive the cost of healthcare up and up and up. We kind of hate it when people say, "Oh, I make this medical device for $7 and charge $22,000 because insurance will pay me." That's not who we want to be. So we're only going to charge $99 a year per patient. Although over time we'll become such a powerful.
How many customers do you have at that price?
This is made up. We have 150 so far, and we're growing at 12% per week.
That's great. All right. Well, I'm all out of time, but thank you.
Do you want to invest? Do you want to learn more? How do you think about this?
Yeah, it's.
Well, so that's it. I'm gonna stop sharing. You see, this is a completely different story, right? So he has simplified the scope, going from something that apparently handles every kind of data in healthcare into a repository where you, as a patient, you have your own data, you have your own diagnostics, you have your own bills, you have your own medications. And why do you have it? Because you want to own your own health. You want to understand what problems you have. You want to have your records. You want to have everything well organized. When you go to the doctor, like that, you can show him things. You can have a conversation. You understand your own health. And that's why you are the customer. You pay for that, right? It's a completely different story, right? And I think it's a very good example of how to simplify the scope of something and create or convert it into an idea that is tangible and that you can address in 1 year. Something that you can really do. Typically, I mean, from an early stage investor, you're going to get a few $100,000. With a few $100,000, you cannot change the world, right? Will be later, maybe, hopefully. But with a few $100,000, you can create something tangible, but you cannot create a huge ecosystem. That might come later, hopefully will come later. Some other comment, Luke?
Yeah, I think what Sam does really well is those 3 points we spoke about earlier. Explain the idea without selling it. Just, this is the problem, this is what we're doing. Then use your next few minutes to excite and talk about the good things, the traction, and then finally with the team, it's a clear layered approach. If we take what the initial pitch was, she's trying to excite us about the potential without really explaining what it is. And I still don't know why that team was the right team to do it. So he's just taken a much more structured approach. And even though he knows almost nothing about that company, we now know more than we did speaking to the founder. So I think that structure has real merit. And I'd recommend rewatching these videos because there's some subtle things that Sam does that really help explain his, why them whilst they're doing it. So yeah.
Very good, excellent. So let's go to these questions. I have answered some of them. We have done most of them. Here there is one. So I understand he has completed Lean Stack and what we should make the pitch or why we should make the pitch deck again. I don't know if I understand this question. Let me explain the process. In Lean Stack, you're not making a pitch deck. In Lean Stack, you are making a Lean Canvas and a traction roadmap. With the information that you have incorporated in your Lean Canvas, a traction roadmap, you will prepare the pitch. And in order to support that pitch, you might want to have a few slides just to show the key bullet points. That's how it works, right?
Yep.
Okay, and then there are some other questions here, but are very specific about a particular idea.
Yeah, so I think I answered one in typing to you, Zizas, but it basically sounds like your company is split into a couple of phases almost, and you're asking, do I pitch them both, or do I pitch one and then the other, or can I pitch twice with two different companies? To answer these questions, no one is allowed to pitch twice with two different companies on the same day. It shows that you're not committed to one particular idea and company. So pick one. I think in the case where they're connected, you're really just describing phases of the company, which is what we want to see. So there's no reason to not put them all together. But if you have two companies that you're thinking about pitching, pick the strongest one. We're going to be running this program again. So if you think in a couple of months, the other idea that you didn't pitch is stronger, you can always come back and show what you've learned, but try and you need to make it as clear as possible for the panel. we might, over 3 days, and I'll get, just to be clear, next week is the practice and the week after is the demo days. During those demo days, we might be seeing 30 to 40 different startups pitching. So if you're confusing and there's like multiple different propositions and different opportunities, you're more likely to just, no, thank you, we're going to take something that we understood and we got excited about. So you don't need to explain everything in the pitch. Explain the key elements of what the company's doing, what you're going to do in the next year, and why you need help, and leave the more complicated nuances of how you grow to after the pitch day.
Perfect. So I think that's it. So I'm very excited to interact with some of these founders and to learn more about their ideas next week, and then to listen to the final pitch the week after, right? And Luke has just said that, but let me say it again. Next week is just preparation. It's a workshop. It's just an opportunity for you to get feedback from us and from other founders about the pitch. It's just for learning. The real pitching day, where you get selected or not selected, that's what happens the week later. And that is November 10, November 11, November 12. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, different people will have different days, different appointments. Yeah. And we will be working on those appointments. If you want to register for the practice, there is a form that we have sent in an email. You have to register there and say that you want to participate in the practice. If you do not participate in the practice, you cannot pitch in the final demo day, which is in 2 weeks. So participating in the practice is a precondition for pitching, as well as having done the Lean Canvas and the traction roadmap. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. And just to reiterate, if you can't make next week, but you want to be at the last day, email us and we'll do a session with you. We need to review every pitch before we can shortlist you. That's mine and Pedro's and Joe's and Tom's job, is to make sure that the day is full of good opportunity, that everyone has an equal chance, and that no one is coming in with a really unclear proposition and making a fool of yourself. We'll be honest, if you're not ready, we'll tell you that you're not ready and we'll invite you to another day in the future maybe. But we need to see you if you plan on pitching to the panel.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much. Oh, we have a new question here. I have not received the practice invitation.
Okay, so it'll go out. It goes out with a Google form. I think one did go out earlier today, but I'll speak to Paul and make sure that it goes out again maybe. So you might get 2. Just fill it in once. But if you're not having it still if you don't get it by tomorrow morning, email us and we'll add you to the list specifically.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much for staying here in the evening with us for 2 hours, almost 2 hours. Now it is 9:53 in Kuala Lumpur, 8:53 and in Singapore, 8:53 in Jakarta, and in the UK should be, well, did you change the,
10
you are
to
in
2.
the winter time?
Yeah,
now.
We're 10 to 2 now, so
10 to 2.
I need to go eat some lunch.
Okay, and perfect. So thank you so much, and I hope to see many of you next week in the preparation workshop and also in the demo day. It's very exciting for me to be with you all these weeks and to help you in whatever I can in order to help you, preparing the idea, understanding what kind of research you have to do, understanding how to get traction, etc., etc. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm learning quite a lot with all of you, with Luke as well, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Pedro.
Thank you.